Hello and welcome to The Hearing, our music review show here on the channel. I'm John.
And from Chicago's North Side, I am Scotto.
And without any further ado, on to this week's album, which is from 2019, Sad Fat Luck by Ceschi. Julio Francisco Ceschi Ramos, better known as Ceschi Ramos or simply Ceschi, is an American hip-hop musician based in New Haven, Connecticut. After the release of his first two albums, 2004's Fake Flowers and 2006's They Hate Francisco False, he founded the record label Fake 4 Incorporated with his brother David Ramos and has released all of his subsequent albums on that label. Sad Fat Luck is Ceschi's fifth studio album. It was released on April 4th, 2019 by Fake 4 Records, of course, produced by Factor Chandelier. I keep wanting to say Chandler when I see that name.
Yeah, same here.
And features Ceschi Ramos on vocals, bass, Casio, guitar, organ, piano, synthesizer, and ukulele. Really just guitar, bass, and keys and vocals.
That was a
If you break that
on
down.
that track. Oh,
Yes, it was.
okay.
I love that part.
I really, I was wondering, how is he getting that sound?
That's a long way of saying guitar, bass, and keys. And uke, which, I mean, frankly, if you can play guitar, you can play uke.
Of course, yeah.
Factor Chandelier on bass, beats, drums, organ, soundscapes, and synthesizer, with additional musicians, and this is quite a list. Astronautilus on vocals, Samus on vocals, Alex Burnett on, I'm guessing on the pronunciation of this, I apologize, Bajo Licencia. I have no idea what it is. I've looked it up. I know what a Bajo Sexto and a Bajo Quinto are. They're stringed instruments. I have no idea what that thing is. Natalie Plaza Carballo on sound manipulation and background vocals. Danny T. Levin on horn. Ben Dean on violin. Lucy Freedom on flute and background vocals. Max Heath on organ, sound manipulation, and background vocals. Sile Hughes on vocals. Taylor Jade on background vocals. Jane Boxall on clapping, triangle, and vibraphone. Gillian Pepper on background vocals. Gregory Pepper on accordion, electric bass, Casio, chord organ, drawing piano, toy piano, and background vocals. David Ramos on drums. Storm Shimp on bass. Levi Solandre on violin, and Lindsay Wright on flute and background vocals. Those credits are
working with them in BTS.
Those credits are according to allmusic.com. Just in case I get anything wrong, I'm just going to point them out. And that brings us to the tracks. Reminder, I don't edit any songs into our episodes for copyright reasons, but down in the description and on our blog at johnscotto.com, you'll find links to find Sad Fat Luck on Spotify and YouTube if you want to listen along. All right, on to track one, Lost Touch. And this is a comment throughout the album. I really like the way he mixes rapping and singing.
Yeah, you really don't know what you're going to get from 30 seconds to 30 seconds. I was going to say minute to minute, but it's more like it's even shorter than that. He begins, I feel, a very traditional, that there isn't much that stands out about, I'd say, these first two tracks even. It's very like almost like an introduction.
Right, yeah, it's a lead in. Just like how it kind of builds and finds the groove. Overall, the background vocals are great. And the harmonies and the choral vocals after the first chorus were interesting.
Yeah, he does. I mean, it's like almost like an Eminem style on this song. I mean, he does his own fast style, I feel, like throughout much of this. But this, I feel like he kind of holds back a little here, I think. I mean, he takes like a few lines before you realize he's talking about either socialism or just anti-capitalism altogether.
On to track two, Jobs. Really like the use of autotune on this one.
I was gonna say, my first comment, as the first thing I felt like, who the fuck autotune still?
Well, because he's not trying to hide it, it's very obvious.
Yeah.
And it's used for an effect. And he uses it very subtly, particularly on the verse, which I'm not even sure if it is autotune. It might be, but it's not that high, metallic harmony that you get, or the octave. He keeps it a bit low and quiet, which is very nice.
But I'll tell you the point where he won me in this song. Who the fuck? What else would make a 13th floor elevator reference?
Yeah. Also, like how soft the vocal is. He's rapping softly, which is not a common thing. Great groove. Great, nice sparse arrangement. Also, great kind of sung bridge slash breakdown slash ending. He goes to singing at the end.
Yeah.
On to track 3, the title track, Sad Fat Luck.
This is where it starts to take off.
Mhm. Love the harmonies on this one, and the fast harmonized rapping.
Right. I mean, this just begins slowly, though. This begins with just like, well, actually, it
Mhm.
literally begins with like some baby noises.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you get like this funky guitar, and then you get like this dramatic flourish with what at first you think are just synth violin sounds, but then you realize, no, no, he's got a violinist playing with them.
Yeah, yeah. There's synthesizer, but the synthesizer on this album is clearly synthesizer.
Yes.
It's not impersonating any actual
Right.
instruments.
Yeah, when you hear a violin, it's a violin.
Mhm. Now, on the last one, I talked about the softness of the vocals. This is the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
He's just shouting, and not in a bad way. It's just very intense.
And it's kind of the way when I first saw him live, or actually I think I only saw him live once, where he's like, he just this big guy comes out with an acoustic guitar. This like with this album, of course, he has a band,
Mm,
and then he just starts fucking rocking on this acoustic guitar and rapping at this furious pace. And when I say he leaves the stage, I'm not saying that he stage dives. I'm saying he's mic'd up with the guitar and he goes into the audience to play and
mhm.
sing at the same time.
Classic,
And
like kind of crooner move.
it's just, I mean, it's nuts because
Mhm,
it's almost like a mosh pit that he's in the middle of that he's just
mhm.
singing and playing still.
And you talked about how quickly he raps. There's an
Yes,
incredibly fast rap in the
right.
middle of this one.
I'm not exactly sure what he's saying exactly, but there are words there. You pick them
And
up every now and again
the
the more
thing
you
that
listen to it.
the thing that impresses me with that is writing it, because rapping it, yeah, it takes a lot of skill. I certainly can't do it, but you
Right.
practice it enough, you get it down. But to be able to write it, that's something that will work rhythmically at that speed. I don't know how, like, I don't. I mean, I'm a poet. I don't know how you would write something that's meant to be delivered that quickly.
Cramming that many words into it
Yeah,
and yeah. And
and
it
and
kinda
it's
builds to, like, that chorus of the sad fat luck
and
and what is sad fat luck.
yeah, it's interrupted by this great kind of harmonized part,
Yes.
and then we get back to the fast rapping.
Yeah.
We're into track 3, and the album's already on a journey.
Yeah.
On to track 4, the gospel. Here we get some Mellotron, or what I think is a Mellotron, at least.
Yeah, there weren't any Mellotron in the credits because I think he just uses the keys
It's a
for the Mellotron.
synthesizer, but it
I
sounds like a Mellotron to
I
me.
mean, you'd have to be a psycho to actually use a real Mellotron these
Yeah, yeah,
days
true, true.
from what I understand of
Well,
how
well,
unreliable they are.
the company Mellotron, the company that makes it, I don't know if the company's
Yeah.
called Mellotron, they make actually smaller, more stable units
Yeah.
now that you can easily, take on with you on tour, and they're not that expensive.
They don't
But
break down as
no, no, to use
easily.
an
I
actual
mean,
old school Mellotron, yeah, you'd have to be
I
insane.
just hear the horror
Um,
stories
yeah,
of the '70s.
really like the frenetic drum part on this. It's programmed; it's not a real drum, but it's just nice
Yeah.
and frenetic. But it also keeps this great groove. And this one's all sung, which was a nice
Kinda
change of
goes
pace.
back to the traditional slow jam on this.
Mm,
I mean, there's some wordplay I like, the Oxycontin
mhm.
candy and all that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great melody, and the melody is kind of new wave.
Yes. Oh,
He
definitely.
definitely leans to a little bit of an '80s thing here. And there's some great melodic development to the outro because there's this melody that kind of after the vocal drops, it kind of ends the song that is nicely developed from the chorus melody. On to track 5, Daybreak, another sung one.
Just an acoustic.
Yeah, starts off very folky. It's actually very folky, very
Yes.
Beatles influenced.
It
It
really
was just
acts as an intro for the next song, I think.
yeah, yeah. Surprised to hear an acoustic guitar on this at this point.
Yeah.
I love how the groove builds into the chorus, and there's a nice horn break at the end. It's really just kind of a what the fuck because
I
it's this
found that
folky
more
pedally song.
surprising, the strings and the
Yeah, I love the
horns and all
pizzicato
that.
string. Yeah.
The arrangement is like, wait a minute. First you think it's just gonna be like a, kinda thrown in there, then you're like, "No, no, wait, this is a good arrangement."
Mhm.
And it's just kinda surprising in
Yeah.
there because you just feel like it's gonna be a folk
Mhm.
acoustic guitar vocal thing.
On to track 6, Take It All Back, part 1 through 4. Here's where it really goes on a journey.
God damn, I love this song.
This is my favorite.
Yes, I mean, it's yeah.
Like, I
It's
usually
probably the
don't like,
strongest song I've heard in a while,
I
actually.
don't I typically don't like it when we agree on the favorites because it does I like some variation on our lists, but what else can you pick on this album?
Right.
Um, we're back to hip hop for a little bit, and
Uh,
it's very classic hip hop with a great groove.
right.
Nice
I
wall of sound.
describe this overall as a four-part movement in, like,
Well,
what, a little over 4 minutes? A
yeah,
suite in, like, over 4
well,
minutes?
kind of, but they're really 3 parts because he goes back to part A at the end.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
I guess you could say that.
he says
A
part 1
pretty
through
yeah.
4, but if it's end is a restatement of the first one,
Yeah, that's how
which
it
I guess
usually
is
goes.
kind of a classical form.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
nice wall of sound, and then we get this kind of alternative section that's really nice and anthemic with this frenetic percussion.
Like, I'd say the first part is, like, straight up rap.
It's
Then the s
very typical, like, not classic, like, '80s style, but it's very modern hip hop, typical of modern hip hop.
then the second part, it kinda gets into this, like, weird dramatic buildup.
And best I can it's very anthemic, kind of alternative.
You almost don't even know you're into a second part. The first 2 parts blend together
Mhm.
so well. You're kind of like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's where that part ends," and after you, like,
The
go
the
back and listen to it
the
again.
second section sounds almost like something Chris Martin would have written, but
Right,
better.
right. And then the 3rd part, what?
Reggae, but kind of reggae, kind of punk, very
It's
Police.
like a garage rock sort of sound to it.
It's actually very Police sounding because it's this mix of reggae and punk.
You could say that, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then we're back to the hip hop.
Yeah, just like the needle scratching across the record, and then it's like almost only this time it's like more frenetic. It's more like a reggaeton
Yeah, yeah.
kind of sound to it,
Mhm.
where it's just machine gun fire,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of winds down.
Mhm. On to track 7, Say No More.
The last
We
track, though, one last thing,
okay.
you could compare it to is They Might Be Giants,
Yeah, yeah, I can see it.
where they go through that like Apollo.
Mhm.
What was that Apollo 16 one where they go for like half an hour or something in like 1 minute parts.
And TMBG were kind of the fathers of what's often called nerdcore.
Yeah,
Um, and I would say Chesky kind of given some of his references definitely falls into that.
definitely. I could
Um,
see that.
Samus performs on the album. She's very definitely nerdcore.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that he would be influenced by TMBG. It's just Tom Lehrer, then TMBG, and then a bunch of people who borrowed from TMBG in a wide variety of genres. Um, Say No More, again, we get the funky acoustic or folky acoustic at the beginning, kind of rapped, kind of sung.
It's almost like an outro to the last track where
Yeah,
you had
yeah,
the intro
yeah.
before it, and now you've got the
Mhm.
outro.
Very definitely, but hip hop percussion. There's again a nice fast rap break. And I really like how the timing just slows at the end. And it's not like the trick he pulls later on the album where he slows the tape down.
Yeah.
The band just takes it slower and slower and slower,
He
which
kind of
was
does that at the
nice.
end of Take It All Back where
Yeah.
just the tape winds down.
Mhm.
Just a lot about a man wrestling with his faith, and a lot of the
Mhm.
songs on the album are about that of just how to exist, kind
Yeah.
of, you know.
On to track 8, Electrocardiographs. Loved the Red Hot Chili Peppers that reference at the beginning because not a lot of people know that song. The line "Catholic schoolboys rule." There's a Chili Pepper song from I think their second album, Freaky Styley, called
Yeah.
"Catholic Schoolgirls Rule." If you were around in the late '80s, you know that song.
Yes.
No one who wasn't around in the late '80s and kind of plugged into that scene knows that song. So
And
that was a great reference.
I'm gonna say something that could be offensive to his fans or the artist, but his style here of rap is very similar to Macklemore.
Wow.
Now,
Okay.
I know it's fashionable to pretend Macklemore wasn't big,
I kind of like the couple of songs I've heard.
but right, that first album was really solid, and I think his focus on social justice and
Oh, certainly.
anti-capitalism, I mean, they certainly meld well
Yeah, yeah.
with Chesky's
Mhm.
beliefs here, and also it explains why Macklemore's popularity was very short-lived, because you had a
Mm.
lot of people online that just could not take that.
Right, right. I think Macklemore was a little too recent to have influenced Chesky. They kind of overlap a little too much.
Oh, definitely,
I don't
yeah,
think he was
yeah.
an influence. I think it's just kind of a wave that came around at that time that they both kind of jumped onto. Um, Nice sparse opening on this one. Great soundscape. Love the kind of free time at the beginning. There's no real rhythm. Even in the rap, there's no real solid rhythm.
And of course, Macklemore never had the line, like the body of Christ inside of a nun's cunt.
Mhm. Well, Malcolm Moore wanted to sell records or get play. I should say Macklemore
That's
wanted
true.
radio play.
That's
Um,
true.
um, Love the kind of military-ish drum part that eventually kind of fades into it, though, and how the groove kind of settles in halfway through.
I don't know if I've ever noticed that on here.
The military drum part,
Yeah,
it's right up front. It's a quick kind of snare, but military snare.
those
Um,
goddamn earbuds.
Maybe. I think that part's pretty obvious. I mean, there's
Okay.
being a musician, there's things I might notice that you might not, but that the drums on the track are pretty obvious.
I mean,
Anyway,
if I heard them, I know I'd pick up a
uh,
military drum pattern,
mhm.
but
It sounded that way to me. That's why I say military-ish, because it's not just like a straight up rolls
yeah,
on a
yeah,
snare, but it's
right.
seems influenced by that. On to track 9, Middle Earth. This one features Samus. This is the ukulele at the beginning.
Yes. It's like, let's
I will
try that again.
probably be learning that part at some point. It sounds kind of easy. Um, and again, a sung beginning that's kind of alternative.
Yeah, it's very 80s, maybe REM,
Yeah, yeah, there we go.
um, or just traditional Celtic folk music.
Hmm.
Um,
Um,
of
and just
course, with the tune of Harvey Danger, which I'm not sure if that was intentional or not.
okay. I only know a couple other songs. Um,
I only know the one.
mhm.
I
um,
didn't know Harvey Danger had another song.
well, they're still together. I think.
Are they?
I actually really like that one's like the single. I can't think of the name.
Of
I'm
course.
blanking
I
out.
mean, it's a fucking great
I
song.
listen to it pretty regularly. I can't think of
But
the
I
name of it.
mean, to play that
Um,
on a ukulele
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with the keyboards behind it and the
Mhm.
violins too, just you're just like, "What?"
But yeah, love the ukulele part. Great groove. And the rap kind of fits into that alternative-ish groove,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
And we should review something from Samus soon. I
Mm.
mean, we did she had her appearance on the Open Mike Eagles
Yeah,
song
and
album
this is
we
the
did.
second time we're talking about her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nice change of. I have this later when the Astronautilus comes in. I like the change of voice. Nothing against Chesky's voice, but it's just nice to hear somebody else taking the lead for a
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
And Samus has a really nice, clear delivery.
Yeah. I got to see her open for Open Mike Eagle. It was really, really great show.
Nice, nice. On to track 10, Sans Soleil. Another great groove. I mean, I know it's his hip hop album. I'm talking about the grooves, of course.
This one has a bit more of a psychedelic feel to it, I feel.
The piano contrasts nicely with this like distorted wall of sound it's got going. Um, and there's some nice sung chorus.
Yeah.
Um, the arrangement is nicely sparse for the first 2 and 3. Loved the references to Mozart and Darwin.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like oh, yeah, they did do a lot, right? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like 10 years past that,
Well,
man.
Mozart particularly, he's lamenting the fact that he doesn't feel like he's accomplished much, even though he's in his mid
Yeah,
30s. Mozart was already dead by his age, and was Mozart. I think Darwin had probably already written Origin of Species. Darwin, of course, lived quite long, but yeah,
that's true.
he made his mark young. Um,
I mean, this is probably the funkiest song on the album, I would say.
yeah.
It has a lot going on with the feel to it. From what I understand, this is going to be the name of his next release, and it's going to be like
Okay.
part 2 of a trilogy. So,
Nice. The na 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 section added some interesting texture
yeah.
with the bells and this kind of very sing-songy na 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 thing, but it worked.
Hmm.
And then there are these really touching lyrics about friends who have passed away. It goes on for like 2 verses about
Right.
the friends who he's lost.
It's kind of like those are people who died
Yeah,
trying
kind of, but much
series.
much more enjoyable. Um, Well, I'm not going to get into that song. All due respect to Jim Carroll, he wrote some great stuff, but that song was not. Um, but then the Nun on Us come back, but they're melancholy.
Yeah.
He just twists it enough to make it really moody the second time, which was nice. I love the synth part of the synth ending melody, and the sung kind of spoken part at the end was great too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is exactly. Like the lyrics that I mean,
Mhm.
are those lyrics that he's quoting? Are
Uh-huh.
they just yeah, like a friend of his that he had on tape
Yeah.
that he felt like adding?
Mhm. Well, yeah, it sounds like it might be somebody else doing the vocal there. Yeah.
Yeah.
On to track 11, Any War. This
This
one
is the
features
hardest
Astronautilus.
part.
Say again?
This is the hardest part.
Featuring Astronautilus. Really interesting groove.
Like, what if Rage Against the Machine had a marching band behind them?
Exactly. Love the horn part.
It's kind of like a Rage meets Saint Vincent.
Yeah, yeah. And I love how the rap when it first comes in is nice and low.
Yeah,
And I usually complain about low vocals, but it really works this time.
but they're clear. They're not like what does he say?
Yeah, yeah. And then when it picks up, it's a doubled an octave down, and it's not a harmonizer. He actually doubled it himself, wrapped it an octave down,
Okay. I thought that was
or it's somebody else. Maybe I
yeah, I
don't know
thought
if
that was another I thought that
it
was
might
like
be another
yeah.
rapper, not just Chesky doing both, because that would be very difficult.
Yes,
Um,
I imagine so.
and again, Astronautilus is a really nice change of voice to get another rapper in here. I
Yeah.
really like his voice. I need to look for some more of his stuff. On G track 12, Downtown. This is a cover of a song by Magical Clouds, another sung one.
This would be my weakest.
Same here, same here.
I'm not a fan of the original either.
I've never heard the original, but
He only makes it slightly better. It,
okay.
it's
Um,
there's something about today's alt rock where it has to sound like 70s AM radio.
this is a
And
first. We've agreed on both the best and the worst on an album.
uh,
Um,
and this sounds
it's
like
it's,
that, but it's
it's an
still just too looted up for my
interesting
taste.
vocal sound, completely dripping with reverb.
That's probably the only thing that adds interest to it because the original is just straight on like 70s AM.
Okay, because the vocal just grated on me. I like the kind of mellotronish arrangement. A
Yeah,
nice slow harmony comes in the second verse. It develops nicely, but overall, it was just kind of grating.
yeah. Like it's kind of one I skip when I'm not
And
reviewing.
finally, on to track 13, Bona Drag Tape. Interesting title.
I
And a very
had to look up
interesting
what that
opening.
is.
Well,
I
okay,
had
well, educate me.
it's a Morrissey album.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like one of Morrissey's early like compilation albums
Mhm.
there where he was just kind of moving on from some failures and
Uh-huh.
moving into but yeah, the fact that he's that that's what he's talking about loving so much. I thought was hilarious.
Interesting. Wow, wow. Really interesting opening. I also loved the rap with the gently strummed guitar on just at the beginning of every verse,
Right.
like an old school like balladeer, just hitting the chords when they change,
My only
but
complaint
rapping over it.
is he needed more of that mellotron sound.
Mm.
Like he's rap it's only like a minute that he's just like rapping over with that mellotron sound. That,
And
that
it develops a nice kind of soul groove,
yeah.
and it's pleasant, but it doesn't really go anywhere.
It's probably my second favorite song on the album. I
Really?
mean,
Okay.
"Youth Flew By Faster Than the Pog Craze."
It's nice, but it just kind of finds a groove and stays
Yeah.
there, which is a little disappointing after such an adventurous album to
Oh,
go
it's
out
the end
on.
though, you know?
Oh yeah, if it were in the middle, I'd be fine. It's filler, but at the end, just end. Yeah, I get ending on something. Just the end stays in a particular groove. I kind of get
Right.
that, but I don't know. I found it a little disappointing just after the insanity that came before. I wanted it to kind of go out on something more epic.
I know, I mean, I guess they coulda closed with "Any War," really,
Yeah, yeah, that
but
would have been a good one.
I just yeah, there's something about this that I really like where
Mhm.
he's just rapping over this
It's a good song. I just wouldn't have put
these
it at the end.
these strings and that mellotrons, especially the
Mhm.
part I wish they did more with that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd hope that he does that on the next one
Mhm.
at least.
So you put this one on the list, so of course I'm guessing you recommend it.
Yes, definitely, and seeing him
And
live too, definitely.
I would too. The ending I was a little disappointed by the last couple of tracks, but before that, it just goes on a journey. The ride is just fascinating.
I mean yeah, I'd even give it to Sad Fat Luck, the title track too. That's probably the weakest of my four favorites, but um, the four part, Take It All Back, Middle Earth, Bone Drag tape, and yeah, even said Any War too. There's just so many great ones on this.
That's it for Sad Fact Luck until I'm gonna say the 25th because we made a change beforehand and I forgot to change my notes. We're off for the hearing is going to be off for 5 weeks. We're taking 4 weeks off from everything. When we come back on the 8th on the 8th when we first come back after 4 weeks, we're going to do a Stranger Things review in place of the hearing. But when we do come back, we're on the hearing. We're going to be reviewing The Power Station by The Power Station, an album we've both loved since the 80s. You were a big Duran Duran fan.
Yes, yes.
I was a guitar player who was happy to hear Andy Taylor, take solos for a change.
Yeah, I think that was before his solo album. So
yeah, that was the first time they let him off the leash.
yeah,
As I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate his playing in Duran Duran, but
yeah.
as a teenager, it was great to hear him, crank up the distortion and play, a blazing solo.
Well, right, they only had him do like what 3 notes
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
They just repeat those 3 notes for the whole damn
I mean,
song.
his parts were interesting on the records, but as a teenager, it was nice to hear him just shred.
Yeah.
Anyway, that'll be at sometime in late July. Late July. I'm not sure of the exact date. Until then, of course, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you
There
are.
you are. Summer break.
Yes.